meet once again on a beautiful Monday evening through Dhammapada. On this lovely Monday evening, let me start by reciting this wonderful stanza from the Dhammapada, the Pandita Vagga. It goes like this: irrigators govern waters, fletchers fashion shafts, as joiners shape their timber. Those who are wise tame themselves. So as I warmly welcome you to Dhammapada through this stanza from Pandita Vagga, let me introduce you to our guest tonight, who is none other than Mr. Vipula Wanigasekera, former diplomatic officer, lecturer in tourism and marketing. He is attached to Sri Lanka tourism, and Mr. Wanigasekera is also the proud author of the book Pointers to Enlightenment. So we warmly welcome you to Dhammapada, and today I started specially with this stanza from Dhammapada. I thought, since we do use this, I really, use this Dhammapada as a handbook, especially in our programs whenever I initiate a program, because most people, most Buddhists, and not only Buddhists, like everyone, finds this Dhammapada extremely interesting and striking. So if we consider this, I thought of considering this Dhammapada first of all, and if you consider Dhammapada, what do you think are the most striking features of it and the striking stanza of it?
It of course varies from person to person, but I think it's very interesting to look at what Lord Buddha has said in this stanza, which says Nantalikke Nasamuddhamajje Napabbatanang, it goes on like that. When we learned these stanzas in school, yes, we learned it as a subject, but it didn't occur to you. But it means that there is no way out of the outcome of a sin. If there is a papa kamma, you can't find a place in the sky or even inside a cave to get out of that.
Hide.
And I think Lord Buddha was, it's without any argument, he was the greatest orator ever lived. And he used these words, in such a way that it's really, really strong. And that was one thing. So that when someone is committing a papa karma, if someone is aware of that this is a papa karma, and you should also be conscious of the fact that you have no way out of this. Of course, in ahosi karma, there is another explanation how some karmas will not give rise to vipaka because you don't create circumstances. But that's a different thing. But if you commit, you pay for it. It's simple as that. So I think it's a very way of telling you that you can't go and seek forgiveness for what you have done. Then the other one is, which is also a very beautiful stanza, which says, Akkochimang avadimang ajinimang hasimi. I think it's someone who has robbed you and taken all what you possess, and uhuma tala pela, paharagatyam, like don't, if you create some kind of hatred, that will live with you until you die, and it will never end the suffering, unless and as long as you keep that in mind. So that is another beautiful thing, because in our day-to-day life, it's always, people, he did this to me, and so will do this to me, and I will remember this, and I will, it's always he did this to me, she did this to me, so did this to me, this organization did this to me. It's always that hatred that you keep in your mind, and which actually burns you down without realizing that nothing will happen to others. It completely ruins you. So that this stanza is also beautiful, that as long as... Then the third one is very, very vidarshana, which is that I think sabbe sankara anichchati yada Paññāya Passaddhi, and it goes on like that. It's Anichcha Dukka and Anaththa. And once someone realizes that everything is impermanent. Now, impermanent, the law of impermanence is once again interpreted differently by different teachers. There is always a fresh way of looking at things. Now, when you say law of impermanence, anything, this very moment, or what we call what is already in the process of moving to the moment. That's another, a very real practical way of looking at it. I hope you get what I'm saying. It's what is what is real, and that includes you and me and what we are hearing and this interview. And it is already in a movement to move on to the next moment. So that itself shows how impermanent it is. It's not to say that your body is, it is also true, your body is not permanent, your thoughts are not permanent, nothing is permanent, true.
Yeah.
But you go even deeper to see what is impermanent. Then dukkha, I think I mentioned this before, suffering is, once again, people think, there is a way out of suffering, the suffering is in the next moment, but you realize other than the pauses in which the suffering is absent, the suffering is always there. It will always follow you, and your entire life has this inevitable suffering, which is a cardinal truth. And if you can understand that, then it is much easier for you to go in search of the truth with a sincere heart. It's not like a fashion, okay, I am a Buddhist, so therefore I have to do this. It's not that. It's a genuine interest. Like, for instance, like someone who is offering dana. Dana, how many ways that you can interpret dana. Now, a person who is worth 1 billion rupees, right, giving 1,000 rupees, is it really dana? So giving is one meaning to dana, but the vidarshana meaning of dana is really giving up.
Yeah.
You see, so, but a person who is worth 1,000 rupees, giving 500 rupees means a lot. That's then the giving up part also comes into this, So that kind of way of looking at it. So then the third one is anatta, sabbe sankara. So this anatta, that's the most subtle part of the Dhamma, the realization that there is no self. So once again, it is also mentioned in Dhammapada. It's a great thing, so that some kind of a short thing that someone tends to look at it. It gives that person an opportunity of going a little bit further in search of the way out of suffering, and it will take him to a complete liberation.
So overall, is this how you, in your opinion, is this how you analyze Dhammapada?
Well, there are so many. I would probably put them into two categories. One is more mundane.
Yeah.
It's for you to lead your day-to-day life. Then in between you have these hard-hitting ones, which actually takes you out of this mind-driven life. So that is what I said, that these are somewhat more striking. The one who, like as I said before, that there is no way out of a sin that you commit, and that itself can change your life, because you see, otherwise you tend to camouflage under various other things. You do more kusal to get away from what you have. But here, if you commit something, and you have to pay for it, so that itself is a very a lokottara way of presenting it. How I say that, it's a package which comes not only to help you in this life, but also whoever is looking something lokottara, the answers are there.
Yeah. Okay. So other than, now we have been talking about Dhammapada, other than Dhammapada, the rest of the, if you consider the Sutra Pitaka, have you found anything striking there?
Once again, yes, that once again, it's now there are thousands and thousands of sutras. And once again, perhaps it may be different to another person, but when I was first reading Kalama Sutra, it was like quite shocking, because here Lord Buddha himself is saying, I think if you really go into this, if you hear something from someone, don't believe. If you see any kind of philosophy in scriptures, don't believe. If something is coming from generation to generation, don't believe. If it's something that is coming as a tradition, don't believe. It goes on.
Yeah.
And then finally, Lord Buddha says, even if you hear it from a spiritual leader, don't believe. So here is a great saying to say that even if I tell you, don't believe, don't take it as a belief. It's not going to help you. I'm telling you something for you to understand, for you to do some kind of investigation yourself. And if you are convinced, and he gave a couple of examples, and he said, look at Loba, Dosa, and see whether they are kind of wholesome or not. And you can make your own judgment. And then, unless you are convinced, don't live with this belief. So it's a very, very powerful. So
where he encourages free thinking.
Free thinking, and whereas, like whatever the sutras that follow afterwards, one should remember this, because here it comes from none other than Lord Buddha himself, because his one of the problems he had was that these beliefs, after all, during the emergence of Buddha, there were people having so many religions, they were having so many beliefs, and in fact that's why Lamas came and asked Lord Buddha, we don't know whom to believe. Actually today it's the same thing. If you apply the situation that existed at that time, it is the same thing that is prevalent today, because sermons after sermons after sermons, people are confused, they don't know what to believe. But it's perfectly all right to listen to everything. But finally, one needs to do this analysis for them to realize what it is. So Kalama Sutra is very powerful in that sense. Then you have the Anatha Lakkana Sutra, which is the second sutra presented to the Paswagamahanun. And here again, Lord Buddha very simply presents this, find yourself in Rupa, Vedana, sensation, Sanya, mental formation, and Sankara, all that, and see whether there is a permanent self in any of those. And find out whether there is a doer really, and a person within, like the including the emotions. And the point is that that's a very powerful message, because the realization of no self is the final occurrence towards the truth, because when there is no doer, then there is no sufferer either. So therefore, like, it's no thinker behind the thought, because it is the thought itself that tells you that you are a thinker. So that kind of a subtlety, and that is revealed in Anatha Lakkana Sutra, which is a very powerful sutra, and I think people should pay a little more attention to that kind of sutras. Then, of course, during Lord Buddha's time, there were people who came and asked, my Lord, please tell us, how to lead a good life. And that's how, Lord Buddha came up with Singalo, Adya Parabhava Sutra, all these things, how to lead a good
lay life.
Exactly. But that is, Lord Buddha was simply answering the question, but there's nothing wrong in that. But at the same time, the ones who seek liberation, the way out of suffering, these are the ones that will eventually help you. Like the Bahya Sutra, if you see something, you have only seen it. Absolutely nothing. And it's like what I gave you example. If you come across people when you're walking on the road, you have absolutely no concern, because it's just nothing for you.
You're not affected by it.
You're not affected, no you have any opinion, anything on that. That one. So, and of course, Ashtaloka Dhamma, which is of course one needs to look at it very meaningfully, labha, yasa, ninda, prasanta, and all that. And Lord Buddha says, you have no way out of Ashtaloka Dhamma. Your life has to go through this mill. And when you know it, that, and you don't practice Dhamma to get out of Ashtaloka Dhamma, you can't do that, because Ashtaloka Dhamma is embedded into your life. The question is, whose life? You see, that is the reason why, Lord Buddha has given this kind of sutras for people. Ashtaloka Dhamma is your life, right? If you have pain, you have pleasure. You have pain and pleasure, and it's like
there are
two
ups
sides,
and downs.
Ups and two sides of the coin. So that's how you create the world, and that's how the mind-driven life, continues. But once you know that you have no way out, then rather than seeking or resisting, you tend to surrender to that. You tend to accept that.
Right.
And the acceptance itself will, reveal that, finally, that yes, true, it is there, but who is experiencing it? That is the subtle part of the Dhamma where, these sutras help you to understand.
Yeah, so we have been talking about the Dhamma, the striking features of Dhammapada, as well Sutra Pitaka, by taking into example a few sutras like Anatta Lakkhana Sutra and Bahya Sutra, etc. So now, when you consider all these, the Buddha's preachings or the Dhamma preached in the Sutra Pitaka or in the Vinaya Pitaka, whatever it is, it is what we call the Dhamma. It is what we call coin the term Buddhism or the Dhamma. Now, how would you suggest a way of practically applying this Dhamma into daily life, without just letting them be there in theory, in books?
Yes, now I think extensive discussions are taking place to ascertain what is good and what is bad. Of course, if you look at Dhamma, it's stated in many, many scriptures what is good, wholesome, what is not, what is kusal, what is akusal.
Yeah.
But if you look at a simple stanza like sabbe tasanti dandasya sabbe bhayanti machino, it's I think it means is that everyone fears punishment, everyone fears death. If you look at that one, simply Lord Buddha says, compare yourself. Simply, if you don't like to get hurt, you don't hurt another person.
Put yourself in somebody else's shoes.
Always put yourself into that situation. See, would I like to? Now, I must tell you, the other day, I was in my office and they were showing this CCTV camera which is fitted to focus on a junction. And then they have captured the accidents, and they were showing how the accidents take place. So it is one after the other, it's for all the accidents, the trike shows the motorbicycles, the cars, how they are. And the one who is looking at it, it becomes a bit of a excitement to see, how a bike comes and hammers something, then the trike show, But if you really think, if I was in that trike show, if I was in that vehicle, if I was there, the way your perspective of looking at that thing is completely different.
Like you're watching it like a thriller movie or something.
It's like a kind of a thrilling thing for people to watch that. In fact, I have seen some people, they burst out laughing also, because it's a kind of the way it is presented. I'm not saying it is, but if you put yourself into that situation, then it's completely different. Like if you watch Discovery Channel, they show the wildlife, and they'll show you a cheetah following a deer, and it's a quite excitement, how the cheetah chases and gets that 100 kilometers per hour speed and finally tackles the deer and rolls down and throttles the deer. It's quite a lot of excitement there. And the one who is watching, I'm simply asking, what if you were that deer? you see, your way of looking at it becomes different. Then it's no longer a thrill to you. You see, so I'm not saying that it is a kind of a pessimistic way of, but the reality is that can you put yourself into that? So if you apply that simple thing into your day-to-day life, would I like this? If this happens to me, how it is? If I am in this position, how would I? The other day someone was telling me, something bad about another person during a conversation. And I said, well, if I were that person, I would have done the same, because it is not necessarily that person. It is sometimes the circumstances that push person to react in a particular way. So it is always comparing yourself, So that kind of a little thing, if you are scared, then don't scare another person. If you feel bad, then, ensure that the other person will also not feel bad. That resolves most of the problems, if you take a simple advice like that. So that's one way I think is handling the practical situation, using the Dhamma that the Lord Buddha has presented to the world. And the second one perhaps is somewhat, what shall I say, it's less understood, like Brahma Viharana or Brahma Vihara, what we call
Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekkha.
Now these are beautiful words, when we hear it, we hear them in many sermons. But how many of us, if you look at as a country, Sri Lanka, how many of us really apply this? For instance, don't you think, this is a very direct way of saying, and one might probably say, no, it's not practical. But what I'm saying is, if half of this country can practice Brahma Viharana, where would